Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
At this point, I think we should just recognize the Institute for Justice. They're like superheroes. They hear of an injustice somewhere in America, and they go in and they step in on the right side and try to right wrongs that are happening to people who otherwise could not handle these things themselves. So we got a story now out of South Carolina. Bill and Al both sent it to me from the Institute for Justice. It's happening in South Carolina, where a family is fighting to save their U-Haul business. Now, why did they have to save their U-Haul business? Because the city basically passed a law saying that they can't have their U-Haul business. So here's how it works. Jeremy and Marie are classic small-town entrepreneurs. Jeremy opened an automotive repair shop and U-Haul rental business in 2013 in Malden, South Carolina, in 2013. So it's been there for a few years. Marie joined him in 2016, has been running the business with him ever since. And now since they've opened, they've grown. And today, Jeremy and Marie employ 17 people and serve over 10,000 customers a year. This is not a small concern. 17 employees, plus the two of them, 10,000 customers a year. But city officials, pursuing long, elusive private economic development, decided that U-Haul is simply too ugly for the new downtown that they envision. So the city council amended the zoning ordinance to outlaw U-Haul rentals almost everywhere as of December 31st of this year, which would force Jeremy and Marie to close the important part of their small business. So city council said, we don't want a U-Haul franchise in the downtown area. They basically outlawed it. They've been trying to modernize and create a downtown area, that's the city council, for more than a decade, and developers have come and gone. Pursuing yet another grand plan in 2021, the city amended its zoning ordinance to change which uses are permitted on North Main Street near downtown. Malden grandfathered in every existing business except the U-Haul, meaning only U-Haul rentals have to close or relocate under the new zoning laws. So they pass a law, I say it applies to everyone, but it only affects one business. So apparently some private developers had indicated that truck and trailer rentals were a bad look for that part of town. Now the idea that you can outlaw a business violates South Carolina law. The government can't prohibit someone from continuing a safe, reasonable, pre-existing use of private property. So what they're doing is legal. It's safe. There's no complaints about it, except that somebody doesn't like the looks of it. Somebody doesn't like the looks of it. So that's why Jeremy and Marie have joined with the Institute for Justice and are fighting the city's unconstitutional zoning law that would close down their U-Haul business otherwise. Now, Sarks Automotive, that's the parent company here that Jeremy runs, opened in 2013. And they also do perform automotive repairs, but they also rent the U-Hauls and the trailers, the trucks. Malden is a small town of 25,000 just south of Greenville. Just like most small town entrepreneurs, Jeremy and Marie lead busy lives. They spend long hours at the shop to provide for themselves and their loved ones, pouring everything they have into their business. Several of their children also work in the family business. The two have been successful. Sarks Automotive has grown steadily since opening, currently has 17 employees, serves around 50 customers a day. Over the years, they have spent roughly $300,000 improving the property, and they plan to stay at that location forever. They like the location. They're doing well financially, but the city of Malden has other plans. For a decade, city officials have worked with a string of developers and investors on plans to give the downtown a makeover with the hopes that the town could grow to be more like neighboring Greenville. The developers and their plans came and went without being completed. Finally, a developer out of Greenville seems ready to make a move. The developer apparently has contracted to purchase land from the city with a plan to build a new city center with pickleball courts, upscale restaurants and retail shops, and multifamily housing. But the development is far from assured and construction has not begun, and its projected opening has already been delayed a year. And for those of you who think that pickleball courts are more attractive than a running business, I'm not sure about that. Besides pickleball being a recent fad, why don't they put in a frisbee golf course? Or, I don't know, a twerking center. I mean, a cornhole court. Why not? Let's go with something that's going to last for a long time. So even though the developer's in place, city officials decided they needed to eliminate many of Malden's longtime businesses. According to the mayor, a developer expressed a dislike for U-Haul businesses. The developer said, I don't like U-Haul. I just don't like them. The city's response was, we need to clean that up. That's it. We need to clean that up. A random developer with no stake in Malden states an opinion about U-Hauls, and the city decides to destroy an important part of the Sark's successful business from out of the blue. I have rented U-Hauls on many occasions, and there are standalone U-Haul businesses, very, very large ones, and then quite often someone will run the U-Haul business on the side. A lot of storage places do it, but I've seen it with car repair shops and even gas stations that will rent U-Hauls. Whether they're the big trucks or the trailers or what have you, they rent dollies, they rent all kinds of stuff. But the idea that somebody just doesn't like U-Haul sounds like a personal problem. So as part of the broad overhaul to the city's zoning laws to bring in development, the council prohibited the sale and rental of moving trucks and trailers, which is basically U-Haul. And they did this in all zones but one, effective December 31st, 2022, which is banning a land use while giving existing instances of that land use a period of time to wind up what they're doing. So they're basically saying, look, it's going to be illegal next year, but we're going to let you continue to do it, and that's our way of being nice to you. And as the Institute points out, they call that amortization. They're suggesting that by letting you continue doing your business, they're compensating you for the fact that they're taking your business away from you afterwards, which is not quite right. Closing the U-Haul portion of their business means they'll lose tens of thousands of dollars in revenue annually, will have to lay off at least one and maybe two of their valued employees, and will pay more for business insurance because they will lose discounts that they had gotten through U-Haul. You'll also lose the work they do repairing U-Haul trucks and trailers, but that's only the direct damage they'll suffer. Renting U-Hauls also generates auto repair business from people who learn about Sark's Automotive when they drop off their U-Haul rental truck or trailer. Some of these customers return to Jeremy and Marie to have their personal vehicles repaired. And by pursuing private economic development without integrating the businesses that have brought Malden to this point, the city has dealt a serious blow to the business these two have invested in, as well as the community it serves. So they've been there for years, building up goodwill, building up a customer base. And a developer from out of town comes in and goes, yeah, I want to develop here, but I don't like them. And the city council goes, oh, okay. And ask yourself, who should the city council be looking out for? Now, I understand that they're looking out, they think, for the city as a whole. But at this moment in time, Jeremy and Marie are the locals who have been contributing to the economic development of that area. And the developer is the outsider. And do keep in mind that this business that's an ongoing concern that generates income also generates, for instance, taxes for the city. So it seems to me that it's kind of short-sighted, but it's also unfair. So taking Jeremy and Marie's U-Haul business serves no practical purpose for the city other than to assuage the bad feelings that one guy has against U-Haul. It might be a gal, but a developer. Worse yet, the ban does nothing at all to improve the city's appearance, even if that were a legitimate reason to destroy a business, which it's not. And by the way, you might say, but Steve, let's face it, a U-Haul lot with trailers and trucks and stuff just scattered about, you can imagine that being messy. Most cities have got blight laws. We've talked about this before. If you've got unsightly stuff on your property, they can come by and say, clean this up. But no mention's been made that anybody ever complained about this business, that, hey, the business is a mess. Business is blighted. No one said that. If somebody had said that, I would take a look at it and go, oh, that's different. No one's done that. Now, it's true that U-Haul vehicles are orange. And orange is one of those colors that, a lot of it in one place might be a bit much. But people also recognize that's just the color of U-Haul. It's orange. Their stuff is orange, right? And so the fact that there's a lot of orange on this site, I don't think that violates the blight laws, does it? Because if it did, they would have notified them a long time ago about that and said, clean that up. So meanwhile, amortization is the idea that you have a right to keep using your property as you have, so long as you do that until you're kicked off of it or whatever, or you close down. And they basically say that by amortizing the portion that you got to use before you had to stop using it, that's payment for being put out of business. And you understand that generally speaking, if the government takes something from you, they must compensate you for it. We refer to that as a taking. And so compensation for a taking is something that's actually described in the Constitution. So generally speaking, if they do something that takes your business from you, they would have to compensate you for that. But they don't want to do that because that would cost them money. So as the Institute for Justice argues, the U-Haul ban exceeds the city's power and violates the South Carolina Constitution and also the U.S. Constitution if they don't compensate them. The South Carolina Supreme Court has long ruled that unless there's a clear, pressing danger, an existing business must be allowed to continue after a zoning change that would otherwise prohibit it. In short, the city's power to regulate property through zoning does not include the power to terminate ordinary, pre-existing businesses just because the city doesn't want them there. And as they point out in the next paragraph, the U-Haul ban also violates the due process and equal protection clauses of the South Carolina Constitution, and somewhere else, I'm sure they suggest it violates the United States Constitution. So they're going to litigate this. Attorneys for the Institute for Justice are stepping in, and they're going to represent Jeremy and Marie in this action. So right now, we're just a couple months out from the end of the year. If everything stays as it is right now, they will have to shut down the U-Haul portion of their business on December 31st. They will get no compensation for that, and this is being done simply at the behest of some developers who said, oh, we don't like the looks of a U-Haul business near our development. Okay? Institute for Justice is trying to get that straightened out. And the grandfathering section of this is something you need to be aware of. And that is the city has the right to zone. And they can zone certain areas certain ways. And so if they say this area here is going to be a commercial district, no longer residential, but commercial, okay? Well, now it's a commercial district. But if there was somebody living there already and it got rezoned, the idea is, well, they were already there. It's not fair to zone them out of their house, or the other way around. If it's a commercial district, it gets rezoned residential. There's a business there. Well, what they basically say in most cases is the people who are there when the zoning changes get to stay, but when they leave, it's done. So that property would then become whatever governed by the new zoning regulations. So that's the situation. But I will follow this case. I love the Institute for Justice. I've mentioned them before. This is not an advertisement. I just wholeheartedly believe in what they do. I get notes from a lot of people who tell me that after seeing so many stories where they step in and defend the little guy and gal, that they go, I was moved to donate to them. So I'm going to put a link to them in the description below the video. And right now they're fighting the good fight in South Carolina because this couple has a business. They've been there since 2013, and they've been renting U-Hauls out of that location. And the city has just decided, oh, you can't do that anymore. And that's despite the fact that this business serves over 10,000 customers per year, and they employ 17 people on the premises. And so I think it's a good fight. I wish them luck, and I will update you as it progresses, and we can see to it that Jeremy and Marie, the hardworking entrepreneurs, get to keep their business as it is going forward. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Everything is within walking distance if you have the time.